C-130s delivered water throughout the state, which was the biggest concern. No one knew how bad that winter weather was going to be. And there's never been anything in history since the weather's been documented, reported in Texas history. I hate that we're making all this history sometimes. And currently the governor, we came off the border in December under a Title 32 status. Just two and a half weeks ago, the governor is sending back 500 guardsmen and state active duty. Actually, they're already there. They're going to be conducting about 40 observation posts in support of the Department of Public Safety. And there's about 1,000 DPS that are going down to the border to assist Border Patrol with what's going on at the border. I know everybody's seen it on the news. And actually, I was with 19 of our senators on the border yesterday. So a lot of that footage, if you're watching Fox News, came from the trip yesterday. And that was Senator Cornyn and Senator Cruz ensuring that the Senate knew what our border looked like. So that's kind of where we've been. It's been very, very hectic. We've done some things that we've never done before. One of the big things I am looking at is retention. So we may work with NGAT on some of that as well as building the membership. And I'll talk about that at the end. We've gotten, even over while we've been doing all this, we've gotten a new force structure in the Air Guard and in the Army Guard. We do have a new Deputy Adjutant General Air, Major General Tom Seltzer. And currently he is also the dual status commander for our Title 32 troops, as well as our the active duty doctors and teams that they sent in from DOD. There's about 508 active duty that he is also commanding right now. Let's see. Also in the Air Guard, we've been told that we're getting the C-130Js. I think everybody knows that, but there was a lot of work into that over the last several years. Also, right after that, a couple of weeks later, General Lowe, the new director of the Air National Guard, called me and told me that our Air Guard is also getting the Aero Medical Evacuation Unit, which goes great with C-130J. So that's all good news. And also already General Seltzer has let me know, we've had a conversation, and he's setting up a strategic plans group for looking at our F-16 wing and also our wing down in Ellington, as well as the C-130Js, but all the wings and for a strategic plan. And actually General Lingell retired he's going to help us with that strategic plan group. So that's a very good thing. On the Army side, we've gotten the 3rd Squadron of the 278 ABCT, Armored Brigade Combat Team. That just recently happened. We're still waiting on the carrier status. That should be coming soon, but that's huge. We're getting armor back in Texas. 3 Corps Commander, General White, 1st Cav, they're all excited that Texas is back in the armor business, and we're going to be doing some training and some stuff with them, as well as, we need more master gunners and things like that. So also we're getting 36 ideas, getting a DIVARTY. That will be coming in the next couple of years. We haven't necessarily nailed down the exact year, but we'll be getting that DIVARTY, which is good. Now we have an 06 command for our field artillery. And also the 143rd Airborne Battalion we formalized that relationship with the 173rd out of Vicenza, Italy, which was part of the AUP, the Associated Unit Program, which was off-ramped. And there were just several relationships that stood time after that. And 143rd was one of them. So that's very good. That's another good thing for Texas. Currently, our state legislature is going on. And within that, from Texas, the Texas legislature, we're asking for more facility money to make sure that we renovate our armories. It's the continuing plan of our STAR program, our state of Texas armory renovation program. So far, we've been very fortunate. And then also we get the equivalent of the federal money on the other side once we get the state money. We've also put in making sure we do our training funds for our state active duty, as well as for aviation training with Texas Task Force 1. We put in for a death gratuity for state active duty. When you're on Title 32 or Title 10, you're covered with SGLI. And you also have SGLI for state active duty, except for our state guard. So we're putting in for, we're requesting death gratuity when you're on state active duty. And so we're working that one really hard. And we're also asking for more full-time equivalents, especially for state employees, which will go to maintenance and things like that. Some to the state guard. But that's a very important. We're still undermanned full time, and that's also on the federal side. Because the more that we can have full-time manning, our technicians and our AGRs on the Army side, the air's doing pretty good. Then the more that we have to support our soldiers, because right now we're like 1 to 100 or something as far as full-time manning. And what that, when we have what we need, we don't have pay problems. We don't have some of the problems that soldiers are having to have right now. And especially with all the mobilizations we've been doing, we have Title 32 mobilizations, we have Title 10, and we have state active duty all at the same time. So really, really trying to take care of soldiers. We need that full-time manning. And on the federal side, that's one of the things that we're talking about. And also on the federal side, I already mentioned about the Texas Air National Guard, because one of the things we'll be looking for the F-16 wing, the training wing, is going to whatever that next generation airframe is. And that's what, again, General Lingell will work with us. I already talked about full-time manning. Another thing on the federal side is the Space Force. Right now, National Guard is not included in the Space Force. There's some units that are associated with it, but none in Texas. And we are working with NGB, because that's also a NAUGUS and an NGB proposal, is the Space Force for the National Guard. Force structure expansion, I already mentioned that. We've been pretty good on both Air and Army. We've grown our slots. We didn't have to give something up to get those units. They were new slots, which is a good thing, because that's not all the way, that hasn't been the way it's worked in the past. Another thing I think is very important is that we're working as parity. And what I mean for that is parity in jump pay, flight pay, hazardous duty pay. And I know not everybody's airborne, but or an aviator, but they go do the same mission that active component does, and then they get prorated that pay. Like jump pay, you get 1/30th of jump pay for a month. Well, they do the same amount of jumps. They do the exact same requirements as the active duty. Therefore, that additional pay should be the same across the border. And basically, it's guard equities. I don't know. Thanks, Colonel Chernoska's there. And also, I think NGAT also has this. I think the parity, as well as the equipment fielding. The guard needs to be fielded, modernization of equipment, and all the same things that active component is fielded. So we have that. That is a common thing we have on the state and the federal side. So that's a very good thing. Also, a good thing that has changed, even though we've been in this, well, 2020, I don't know, we called it Sharknado. And then 2021, we're kind of calling Jumanji, because you never know what's going to be at the next level, the way we're finding out. But we do have new leadership at National Guard Bureau, which is a really good thing. Lieutenant General Jensen, John Jensen, used to be the Minnesota TAG. He's now the director of the Army National Guard, a very good friend of Texas. Lieutenant General Lowe is the director of the Air National Guard, also a very good friend of Texas. And then General Hokanson, who used to be the director of the Army Guard, who was also the TAG of Oregon, is now the chief of National Guard Bureau. So that's all good, because all three of those, General Lowe was the Colorado TAG. All three of those individuals have served in the state and understand the state challenges that we have, and are really willing to listen. So that's a very good thing compared to some of the past that we've had. Another good thing that has happened, and they're all about, all three of the new leadership are about aligning NAUGUS with the NGB priorities, which has not always been in the past. But that means as NGAT, we line up and we put things through NAUGUS. We also now can expect NGB, at least the directors and the chief, to support what NAUGUS is putting forward. Now, to lead into NAUGUS, Marcy Weldon, our Director of Governmental Affairs, has just accepted a job at NAUGUS. Normally, when we have a key player wanting to leave like that, I normally come back with a different offer. But on this one, it is going to be excellent to have Marcy at NAUGUS, because now we have somebody in there who can hear what's going on, and then understands what goes in the state, And then we will be they're just going to synchronize the state of Texas a lot better with NGAT. And so that's my expectation. And that's one of the things I want to work with NGAT on, making sure we line up with NGAT as well as with NGB. When all those things are in a line, especially other state associations, the National Guard is extremely strong with U.S. Congress. Let's see the next thing. Okay, so yesterday, again, I was, one of the things I always say, I always try to remind yesterday when I was with the 19 senators, one of the things I said at the very end to all of them is that, remember, the National Guard is 34% of the Army, and every state has a National Guard. So that's the power of our organization. So one of the things when 2020 happened, and COVID happened, probably like March 16th is what I remember, the day before St. Patty's Day. We had coordinated a leadership training for all the leadership teams, all the way down to the company and flights and the Air Guard, to do a training event near where NGAT was going to be taking place. And we went through everything. It was legal. We had HRs and everything. So it was one of the things I want to try to continue to do every year, because the more exposure, it's not just the leadership talking to soldiers and junior officers about NGAT. It's also about them coming and visually seeing it. So we're going to continue to do that. And we don't for this year. We're in 22 though. We are looking to do the same thing, have a training event, sanction and everything, and near NGAT, where like we can have generals like come to the general session and things like that, because I expect that's where all their leadership will be. So that we'll get some junior officers and first sergeants and sergeant majors in there. We also can go back and talk to their troops. We have, when I was up at August, just recently, I used the office in there and talking to them. Texas has improved their membership in August 23% over the 1 year. And so that's significant. And so if we're doing that with NGAT, then we need to be doing the same thing with NGAT. So that's on my radar screen. I know I've been and talked to the board several times over the last couple of years. I want to get back on that schedule. Things got a little hectic, but again, synchronizing the priorities that we're doing for our National Guard with our NGAT board is very important. And then getting more exposure to the field of NGAT and how important it is to be a member of NGAT. And you guys NGAT is not expensive for membership. What we've got to work on is how do we go where that can be afforded by our junior officers and enlisted. And with that, I do want to thank everybody for their service and support of the National Guard as well as NGAT. I want to board of directors and everything. Thank you guys for what you're doing. And we're going to, especially people are getting vaccinated now and you're seeing more people are getting back on the road, we're going to see each other a lot more in the future. So with that, that's all I've got. And I'm going to turn it back over to Chris McCaig.